And we're in the car today. The gym is packed, so couldn't use the gym in my car. Before we get stuck into the video, please do me a big favor and hit subscribe to keep up to date with all the weekly videos. The thing that comes up quite often, I've talked a lot previously about the body positivity movement, and I wanted to give it all some balance over the last few videos. I don't want everyone to think I'm a meanie. I'm really not. So I wanted to talk about one of the things that is relatively negative in the fitness industry, and it's this all or nothing mentality of you're either really, really good, really on it all the time, or there's no point. You fall off the bandwagon and you don't do any exercise and your diet goes to shit. So I thought I'd talk about that and the few reasons why I think it happens. So one of the things is the demonization of food groups. It was fats at one stage. It was carbohydrates at another stage. Let's just look at a few people who talk about this type of thing. So this here's a guy called Mark Sisson. Now I've read a lot of his stuff. He's actually a really smart bloke, and I'm not actually getting at him personally. I think he has a lot of good things to say, but the messaging is about carbohydrates and the demonization of carbohydrates. He often cites them as the reason as to why people are overweight and have poor health. So let's have a look at the few things that he has to say and break them down.
So fat, not glucose from carbohydrates, is the preferred fuel of human metabolism. Require only minimal amounts of glucose, most or all of which can be supplied by the liver. And many of us rely on carbs as a primary source of fuel.
So using fat as fuel, that's definitely a thing. Your body will utilize body fat and use it as fuel. One of the things that people talk about when it comes to weight loss, a certain section of society that say you'll lose more weight or at least lose more body fat, having a higher fat diet, lower carbohydrate diet. But what actually happens is if you haven't got enough sugars in your body, if you don't eat enough carbohydrates, your body will have to find it from somewhere. It's the main source that our body uses to create energy. So yeah, of course, if you don't have enough of it, your body will break down fats and use it as its energy source. Whether or not it is how our body is designed to be, I don't actually know the answer to that. All I know is from an energy perspective, it is true. Your body can use fat as an energy source. It doesn't necessarily need carbohydrates for that. Whether it's optimal or not, it's kind of up in the air.
And this carb dependency has driven us to experience a vast array of metabolic problems. The studies keep piling up, indicating that carbohydrate intake is the major variable in determining body composition, and that excess glucose from carbohydrate intake, especially processed grains and sugars, is the primary culprit in obesity and in many disease processes.
Because the primary culprit in many disease processes, I mean, I'm sure eating ultra-processed food, I've talked about this before, has a big role to play in people's health, people's metabolic health, if overeaten. And again, that's the point, if overeaten. And the obesity thing, now, blaming carbohydrates for obesity, if you overeat on anything, you're going to become overweight. Carbohydrates in the West is a highly abundant, tasty, cheap, convenient style of food. We've got loads of available food that's just ready to eat straight away, and it's highly palatable. So we overeat it in the West. You could point towards it being that, but I think demonizing it in the way that was happening quite a while ago, it doesn't happen so much now, but it was happening a few years back, just makes people really fearful of that particular food group. And I think it's that all or nothing kind of mentality towards something is what when people fall off, they really fall off, if that makes sense. They avoid, and you can't avoid it forever. They avoid, and then when it comes back with a vengeance into people's diets, and they put weight back on, and maybe more than they originally did.
It follows logically that if you can limit carb intake to ideally under 150 grams of carbs a day and make up the difference with tasty fats and protein, you can literally reprogram your genes back to the evolutionary-based factory setting you had at birth.
That's not unreasonable. 150 grams of carbs a day and below is not unreasonable, actually. So if you actually sit down and listen to guys like this, you'll realize that it's not necessarily saying you shouldn't have any, but if you overeat, you don't need to eat 150 grams more. And if you overeat the processed stuff, that's when you're going to have a problem with your health. So I've already talked about Joe Wicks and his Killer Bar. I think, again, this is another one of those things that he's coming at it from a really, really good place. We should be managing how much ultra-processed foods we eat, but we've got to put things into context a little bit here. So, of course, we're saying don't make the majority of your food from those sources. Now, I remember when I first started my career as a PT, I was in my 20s, very early 20s, and I used to have loads of time on my hands. I had just me and my missus. We had our house, but we didn't have any kids yet. we had so much more free time than we do right now. And we used to have the bandwidth to prepare our meals, cook every day. You know, most of our food came from single ingredient choices, and we cook it every day. And I'd meal prep for the week on the weekend, and I had loads of time to do that. Now, you know, fast forward 18 years, you know, now I understand why the people I was trying to get to do what I was doing just couldn't do it, because they were in the situation that I am now. And let's face it, probably even busier than I am now. They have hardly any time, and to expect them to spend loads and loads of time preparing all their foods in a week, it just wasn't going to happen. Finding a place where it's like I can do it a little bit and get as much healthy food in as I can, but these little things, these processed foods that we're talking about here, they creep in here and there, then kind of so be it. And this all or nothing mentality is really unhelpful. I think in the past, many personal trainers, if they're honest with themselves, have said that to people, made them think that, well, if this is what I need to do to lose weight, I'm never going to be able to do it. And then they walk out of our door. And I'm sure that's happened to me. And I think anyone who's honest, who's been in the fitness industry for long enough, they're honest with themselves, would say that it happened to them as well. But let's see what Joe has to say here.
Ultra-processed foods. I grew up on a very, ultra-processed diet as a young kid.
And to be clear, we're talking there like a bag of crisps, you know, a chocolate biscuit. Those are all ultra-processed.
It's everything. Anything with, like, you know, really long shelf life and loads of ingredients that you don't quite know what they are.
An oven chip, a chicken nugget.
Everything. Yeah, everything has gone through a process. But the truth is, it's not just... And the argument, like, you know, it's about moderation. We should enjoy these foods. We should. I'm not trying to say you shouldn't eat these foods, but it's the sheer volume.
Although don't eat this one.
Yeah, it's the sheer volume of the amount of our diet coming from ultra-processed foods is what's linked to illness, and it's killing us.
I think so again, the amount of ultra-processed foods in your diet is what leads to illness. If we overeat, we're putting ourselves at risk of ill health. Forget about the body composition. If we overeat, we're obviously going to get fat regardless of the food that we eat. But we just need to be really careful not to make it an all or nothing, not to make it, you can only eat these foods, you can never eat these foods, because you're setting yourself up to fail. And it creates a poor relationship with your food. It creates a poor relationship with training. And we've seen it over the years. And again, if personal trainers are honest with themselves, they've done it over the years, these 12-week plans. If there's no education, like, you know, the 12, 16 weeks transformation plans, if there's no education around it, or if you do it too fast, you're setting that person up to fail. And this is where the yo-yoing will happen. The yo-yoing doesn't happen because of the diet. The yo-yoing happens because potentially the individual dieted too fast without an out plan. And the out plan can only happen if you have an understanding of foods and what you can eat.
Distinction between processed food, like oven chips, and ultra-processed food, where it no longer resembles actual food. That's the trouble, isn't it?
So again, that's not the trouble. The trouble is overeating it.
It's just knowing, like, you know, it's just about things with, like, long shelf life, things that, you know, are consumed, because these foods are designed and...
We need to differentiate what's optimal and what a person can do with their life. If you have the time in your life, if you have the bandwidth, you can be as optimal as you want to be. If you have the time to prepare all your meals, if you have the time to cook from scratch, if you have the time to get the best ingredients out there, to go shopping at different places for the best ingredients, I should say. However, these foods with long shelf life, you know, we get home sometimes with our kids, you know, it's an hour before their bedtime. We haven't fed them yet because we've been so busy. Sometimes it is a case of, we'll get that and we'll feed them, and then tomorrow we'll think about making a proper meal for them. Do you see what I mean? It's really hard to tell people who are really busy that you have to cook from scratch all the time, that demonizing these foods, you know, the guys like this do, I don't think necessarily on purpose, but demonizing these foods is what's creating this all or nothing mentality towards nutrition and training. And it's exactly what creates yo-yo dieting.
No, he's not.
It's actually it's disgusting.
Yeah, I wouldn't eat it.
Joe Wicks.
Spit it out. So...
You're going to spit it out into a copy of the Daily Mail?
Absolutely gross.
I mean, let's face it. I mean, I put that bit in because I found it quite funny, but, like, let's face it. It's probably quite. I don't know if any of you have tried protein bars. They're really quite tasty these days. I mean, Ed's making a meal of that, and he doesn't strike me as the type that doesn't like chocolate. That's all I'm saying. You know, that's all I'm going to say on the matter. Off topic though, I do find these programs quite funny that Joe does. I mean, I love the fact that, like, he tells his staff what he's doing. And then it's like they get one of his members of staff who goes, I don't agree with this. I don't think you should sell the bar. Like, check it out here.
For me to say, yeah, Joe, I think you should try and sell it.
So you think I shouldn't actually sell this bar?
Personally, no, I don't think you should.
it's like he went, oh, we'll plant you here, mate, and we'll say, oh, just be devil's advocate here, yeah. I find stuff like this hilarious because it's blatantly scripted. Oh, and then we'll pan to his house. We'll pan to his house. It's my life. Oh, I've gone home to contemplate. Here's my house.
Here I am making this bar and actually trying to sell it to you. But I'm not going to lie. I'm not comfortable with the fact that people can actually buy this and maybe stick it in their kid's lunchbox and like...
No, I agree. So you are actually selling it?
As if she didn't know. As if he didn't go, oh, by the way, love, I'm doing this show, right? And it's to highlight all this stuff that I'm talked about. And then we're going to sell the bar as, just to prove a point. You're telling me he didn't have that conversation with his missus? This wasn't totally scripted or anything. It's totally organic, this. He never... Do you even communicate with your missus, Joe?
5,000-10,000 bars.
Oh. I didn't realise that you were actually selling them like that.
No, I didn't realise that you were actually selling them, Joe. I didn't realise I was selling 1,000 bars. We never discussed this with me, Joe. Anyway, that's I digress from the point. The point is ultimately that we have all these things that happen over the years. So my 18-year career in the fitness industry, I've seen all the fads. And every time something comes in, people go mad for it. It's low fat, it's high fat, it's low carb, it's bulletproof coffees, it's intermittent fasting. It's all the things that, and everything comes back round to a central point of like, okay, so if we eat mostly good food and, a few bits and bobs creep in here and there, but we manage our energy intake, we're probably going to be pretty healthy. Is there optimal ways of living? Of course, if you can find the time, then do it. By all means. It's really, really hard to expect people with really, really busy lives to do that. So that's my take on the all or nothing mentality of dieting and exercise. Really, really hope you guys have enjoyed the video. If you have, hit subscribe. If you want to chat to me, hit me up in the comments and I'll see you next time.